Hey friends, it's Lauren Taylor. Thanks for joining me in my craft room today. I'm grateful to have you here. Today I'm sharing a project that I made for Pretty Pink Posh. Today I'm going to be featuring some adorable newer products from Pretty Pink Posh, like the Tulip Shaker dies, the Grass Border die, watercolor oval mask, and I'm bringing out my tried and true later on, the large Celebrate Shadow die. I've done all my die cutting. I've die cut my grass border die as well as the stem and leaves of the tulip shaker die out of some green cardstock. I also cut the top parts of the tulips as well as one with a frame, so the center of the tulip die, out of some rose pink cardstock. I also die cut the flower bud part of the die out of some acetate. To do that, I ran it through my die cut machine with a piece of white just printer paper underneath it, and that helps cut through the acetate with these dies. I trimmed off the little excess of the stem from the pink and acetate cardstocks for the tulip, and I'm going to start assembling my solid tulips to the stems and leaves by just gluing the little extra part that is on the green piece of cardstock to the back side of my pink tulip. To create the shaker portion, I'm going to glue the acetate to the frame that I've die cut out. I love that these shaker dies come with separable frame pieces. The leaves of the tulip have their own little, I was going to call them ovals, but they're not really ovals, the petal shape as well. So you could make the leaves shakers or a frame as well, which is so cool. But I'm just going to do the flower part, the bud part of my tulip. So now that the frame is attached to the acetate, I'm going to grab some thin foam strips. These are 1/8 of an inch foam strips from scrapbook.com, and they fit perfectly with the frames for Pretty Pink Posh shaker dies. So I have pulled off both sides of the release paper because it's so thin. If you remove the paper, it makes it very easy to bend and turn, so I could get in those little nooks and crannies of the tulip shaker die. I'm using the Sugar Pop shaker beads. There are some pink, orange, and yellow, very neon and fun shaker beads for the inside of my little tulip. And I'm going to go ahead and attach one of my tulips to the back side of this frame so I can sandwich those pieces together and create a fun little shaker tulip. I think it turns out so adorable. I love the shaker beads. They are such a wonderful addition to the many different types of embellishments you can get from Pretty Pink Posh, but they really do make the best shaker sounds. I'm going to layer my tulips together on the front of a card. I actually think it would look really pretty just like this on a white card base, but I've been really wanting to use the watercolor oval mask, so I'm going to use it for today's card. I've trimmed down an A2, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches piece of white cardstock, and I'm going to just use some low tack tape to keep it in place on the back side of my watercolor oval stencil. I'm going to use some Distress inks, and the vibe that I'm going for, I do things based on vibes. The vibe that I'm going for is kind of like a sun, so I'm going to use yellow and orange. I'm using Squeeze Lemonade Distress ink as well as Dried Marigold Distress ink, and I'm going to create a blend between the two colors for the inside of this oval mask. And then I'm going to take the centerpiece and line it up with what I colored with the yellow and orange colors. And I'm not going to attach it with some tape because it's going to be the inside part of the oval. So I'm just going to use my magnets. I do have a glass magnetic board that I use to craft on, so these magnets just are going to keep the mask in place while I ink blend now with blue. I'm using tumbled glass distress ink to create the sky. So it's gonna feel like a sun or a sunset in the background. The tulips are going to do a lot, or not do, they're going to cover a lot of the front of the card. So I didn't need it really to be this perfect blend. It's more just a fun background. I think that just adds a subtle touch to the background. And I also wanted to add a little bit of splatter. So I brought out a black brush marker. It just is like a watercolor brush pretty much. And I splattered some of that black ink and set it aside to dry. I have my A2 card base, so I'll go ahead and get that folded. It's already cut and scored. Again, A2 is 5.5 by 4.25. And I'm going to add my adhesive to my card front and attach that A2 panel to the front. Now that I have that in place, I'm going to work on arranging my tulips to the front of the card. I also will have this little grassy scene. I just die cut it out of a piece of scrap green cardstock, so I'm trimming it away so I have that grassy portion and I can see how everything is going to line up. So I want the 2 tulips that do not have a shaker, so just this solid tulip, to be behind the grass. So I'll go ahead and use some liquid adhesive to glue 1 tulip on the right side and 1 on the left side. I'm using the shaker tulip as a guide to know where that's going to be in the center of the card. I'm kind of putting them at a little bit of an angle, not too much, but I didn't want them to feel, I wanted them to feel a little bit more natural and not just all 3 straight, I guess you could say. I added some tape runner to the back side of my grass and adhered that to the front of my card. It is overlapping off the edges, so I'll just use some scissors to trim down the excess cardstock on the 3 sides of the card front. Then I'll bring back that liquid adhesive and I'm going to add glue to the back side of my tulip shaker and attach that to the center of the card. I'm using my grid mat to help me get that as centered as possible on the front of the card. I went ahead and die cut the word celebrate, like I said, with a large celebrate shadow die. I die cut the word celebrate out of some white cardstock and the shadow portion out of the same pink cardstock. And I'm using foam strips to attach this sentiment to the front of the card. All of the leaves and grass are glued straight to the card base, so having some foam adhesive here for the sentiment will just add a little bit of dimension, and it will also be on the same level as my tulip shaker. It's the same foam that I used. I'm using a T-square to help me get this as centered and straight as I can. It's not perfect, but I think it looks really nice at the end. So just placing that in place and making sure that the foam adhesive is sticking. And that's going to finish off this adorable floral card. I love the celebrate sentiment. It could be used for a birthday or congratulations or, anything fun that you would give a celebration card to, especially with the shaker element. I think it just adds a lot more fun and surprise to the card. Let me know what you think of this shaker card down in the comments of this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll click like, and if you're new here, I hope you'll subscribe and come back. As always, you can find everything I use down below in the description box. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye!